We recall quite a few things about how to deal with data, but often your data is quite big to enter it directly to MATLAB. And it's most of the time you collect your data using, for example, Excel table, Excel sheet. So let's talk about how to import data from different files. And by different files, I mean, first of all, Excel, because most of the time you will import data from Excel. But I must say that you can import data from anything, any other documents, from text documents, even from Word documents, actually. So let's concentrate on Excel file. So let's make an Excel file first. So that's my table. So far it's empty table. And I will make a file using the same example with height and weight of several people. I'll just use some other names and some other values, some random values. Then we have 80, for example, 70, let's say 75 and 80. Okay, so that's our data. Okay, so what you need to know to import this data. You can do it in 3 different ways. The first way is to use copy-paste. So you can copy any part of data, for example, from your Excel file, and then you can paste it to MATLAB, and you can paste it as a variable. And let me show you how to do that. First of all, I go back to MATLAB and I clear everything. So I clear the workspace and I clear the command window. I don't need script for that. It's just a copy-paste. So I get back to Excel. Let's say I would like to get all these values as a matrix. So I select them, click copy. Then I go to MATLAB, click in the workspace, and then I use Ctrl-V or Command-V if you use Mac to set it in. So that's the interface. So you can see that MATLAB got all the values as a table. And now it asks me how I would like to import it. First of all, I need to say how I would like to get it to my workspace. By default, you can see it's a table. So it offers me to make a table with this name with 2 columns. If you click here, you can see that I can also make it separate vectors, numeric matrix, string array, or cell array. Let me make a numeric matrix. Okay, so I have all values together in one variable. The second step is to say the name. You see by default, MATLAB generates a very long and messy name for that. I will remove it. And then I will just write data. And it's important that you push enter when you finish writing the name. Okay. Then the last thing you need to do is just simply click import selection, and I just close this one, you get the data. So that's the data, and if you write data here, you can see the data. Okay. What else you can do? I will do it again, so just to get the interface. You can also change a lot of things. For example, if it's not Excel, if you use, for example, text file, you can change delimiters. Is it delimited by tabulation, by comma, by space, by semicolon? You can also change the decimal separator. Is it period or comma? That's quite common problem. For example, if you have a text file and in this text file the separator is comma, decimal separator is comma, but MATLAB understands that separator is dot. That's how to change it. Okay. So if you want to import anything from Excel or any other document, that's one of the ways to do that. Just simply copy and paste to workspace. Okay. The second way is to import document by saving it as a file. So let me save this document as a file. So I just click save. And it's important that I have it in the same folder where all my MATLAB scripts are. So in this case, it's documents, MATLAB DOI. So I just go to documents, MATLAB, and DOI. Then I will just call it my data, click save, and I don't need it anymore. So that's the file, XLSX. Okay. So I can just click right mouse button and click import data. And then I will have a similar interface, but now I have all values. You can see I also have the names. Then I can just simply select what values I want to get. Then I can select how I want to get, for example, matrix. Then I can change the name, data, remember, enter. The reason I see that is because I already have data here. So it tells me that I already have this variable. I don't care, I will import it. Now I can also import names, but in names I cannot import this as numeric matrix because it's text. So I have to change it to cell array. Then also name, for example, object names, enter. Import, You can see I have names here as a cell array. And then finally the names for the variables. So I just say var names, also cell array, and then import data. So now I have var names as well. Okay. So if I close it, if I clear the command window and look at the data, that's the matrix with data values. Then I have object names. It's a cell array with all object names. And then I also have the var names, which is a cell array with var names. Okay, so that works. Then finally, the third way to do that, and now I need a section, now I need a script, get data from Excel file. Is to do it programming, write the code for that. Okay, in MATLAB there is a function XLSRead that can read any data from Excel file. You need to specify several things. Well, first of all, let me open the Excel file again. So let's start again with loading this part. So loading data values. I need to know the range for the data values. Range is a combination of other address for the first cell, it's B2, and then address of the last cell, which is C5. Okay. So I go back to MATLAB and then I say, let me start with clear. So I clear the workspace. And I say data equal to XLSRead. So I read the content of variable data from Excel. The file, I can use tabulation to get all files from the same folder instead of writing it. Then the next argument, it's a sheet name. So you know that in Excel you may have several sheets with data. In my case, it's the first one. And then the range. So remember, it's B2 and C5, right? Then we got the data. So that's the data. If you look at it, again, it looks fine. Yeah. Now, what if we want to get the names for the variables? If we do the same way, so I just write var names equal to XLSRead, again my data, first sheet, and then if you look at the range for the names, you can see it starts with A2 and ends with A5, right? So I need to write A2 colon A5. I will get nothing. So you can see var names is empty. Why? Because by default, MATLAB, when you use this function XLSRead, it tries to find any numbers from this range and returns only numbers. Okay. If you want to get text values, you have to specify two arguments, one for numbers and one for text values. So we know already how to do that. You just simply specify two variables, a and var names. A will be for numbers, var names will be for text values. Now you can see that A is empty because we don't have any numbers, but var names now is read correctly. So if you look at the var names, you can see indeed we got the names correctly. Okay. Because we don't need A, you can substitute it with tilde, like this. So it means that you don't need the first argument, you need only the second argument. So we can use the same to get the object, by the way, it's wrong, it's object names, not variable names, so I change the variable. Then now we need to get the variable names, which is height and weight, and you can see its location is B1 and C1, right? So we can change it to B1, and C1, okay? So now we can get all the values. And actually we can combine these values together to a table. So you remember, because we have a data as an array, we can call a function array to table. It's not necessary, it's just to show you how it works again. Then the values, the array itself. Then you need row names, which are our object names, and then the variable names, var names. Then you can show the table, display the table. Then you can see that's the table we got from Excel. Okay. So that's how it works, and I would like to remind you that reading data from Excel, especially if you have a big amount of data, it's quite slow operation, so it takes some time, especially if your computer is not very powerful. Therefore, I always recommend, if you read the Excel data from Excel first, save it as a MAT file. So in this case, you can just use function save my data, and then load data from your MAT file. So you can see I got all data, object names, var names, and the table where I combine everything. it will be much faster to load mat file than to read data from Excel.